James, right? It's a three. Fourth in game one. It's Harden. Hounded by Brown. Screened by Tucker. Three. Surrounded. Drives the defense of Horford. Difference of 2 seconds. Game clock and shot clock. Harden. Sizing up Horford. It's a three. Good! Harden's got 45!
Kevin Harlan, I can understand why you're so excited. I can understand it. James Harden in game 1 of the series, amazing. James Harden in game 4 of the series, another 40-point game. And in game 5, he didn't give us 40, but I think Doc Rivers called him a magician after the game, the way he ran the offense. Let's start here. Philadelphia, Boston. Are you surprised that we're in a position where the Sixers can close this thing out tonight?
I kind of am. You know, great to be on with you guys. I think that we're seeing 2 Hall of Famers clearly, and Embiid and Harden, and watching them work together. The last game really felt was their sweet spot. Embiid was hitting mid-range Jays. Harden looked, his body language was comfortable. He was feeding, he was driving, he was doing whatever he wanted to do. He's had to win 2 games for him clearly. But Embiid moved, I think, without with as little pain as he's had to go through with that sprained LCL. And I just got the sense that they kind of hit their sweet spot. Harris contributed. Maxey was terrific. Tucker does what he does, which is so ubiquitous. And he touches all parts of that team, their emotion, their passion, their strategy. I really just thought they played their best overall game. The score reflected it. Second win on the road. They'll be tough. They'll be very, very difficult. They could be peaking at the right time.
A lot of question marks about Boston. We'll get to the other side of the ball here, and wondering exactly what is going wrong with a team that was so dominant in the regular season. A lot of question marks about Joe Mazzulla, maybe lack of experience, inability, or his inability rather to make the proper adjustments to go ahead and compete with the 76ers. Questions about Jason Tatum and the superstar status, lack of a point guard. But I think one of the biggest questions is there has been conversations throughout the season and last season. Can the tandem of Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum work? Here we are at another situation when it means the most, and that question has arisen once again. Can they work, or is it time to break this tandem up?
No, good questions and good thoughts. The bigger sample size was clearly the regular season. They won 57 games. They're the most balanced team coming out of the regular season. Second in offensive rating, third in defensive rating. And they worked their way through the season, finding what each did well. And I think really, I think that's what I would look at. But everything is so magnified in the playoffs. Questions like yours, thoughts like yours, come up. And so smarter minds will have to decipher that as we go along. I still don't think they've played really their best game, but I think the greater question here is not Joe Mazzulla unprepared at 34 years of age. He doesn't have the veteran voice on the bench as a coach because of the weird way, the wonky way the season began for the Celtics. But I think in retrospect, they probably would have gotten a veteran coach from the past to come on there and help stabilize things a little bit. And that could be what's going to come in the future. I don't think they've got the PJ Tucker voice and presence on their team. I think that's what they miss. I don't think there's any leadership. I don't know that from talking to anybody. It's just the optics more than anything else. I don't think they have what Tucker had. Philadelphia didn't have what Miami had last year. They had PJ Tucker. That role for a guy that doesn't have to have plays called for him or touch the ball to be effective is incalculable. And that's what I think Boston is missing now more than anything else. And I think that's why Philly is thriving. Only team to sweep a first-round series. They've won 2 on the road in Boston, a tough place to win in the second round. They've got Tucker, and everybody is doing their part. Until that last game, I think that the contributors that had made Philly so special had really come to play. It had always been Harden in their 2 wins with big late-game winning shots. Now they have kind of all gotten, I think, the traction each individual player needs, right from Harris to Maxey, and of course the two big stars found that sweet spot. That is trouble for Boston.
Yeah, you bring up an interesting point about Missoula at 34. And, last year, just in terms of dynamic optics, he wasn't even in the front row. There are all these coaches now, Kevin. You got to have a front row of coaches and a second row. He was in the second row last year. Now he's been elevated to the top position. And you work with a Hall of Famer in Reggie Miller. Has Reggie looked at any aspect of either coach, with Doc Rivers, and said, wow, it's really amazing what Doc is doing here? Or on the flip side, hey, Joe, he probably should have done something just to give his guys a better opportunity. Has anything coaching-wise stood out to Reggie or to you?
Necessarily with Joe. I actually think that when he had Tatum take that last drive and then the kick, and they were just a split second short with the Marcus Smart hit from three that would have won the game. That's the way they operate, and that's the way they have operated all season long. They don't want the defense to set. They want to get things in transition. They want to have that movement and that uncertainty. Tatum just got a late start on the play. I don't think that was a Missoula thing. I know there's been a lot of criticism. Why isn't he taking the timeouts? And that's, I think, he admits to us, hey, I'm still working my way through this. Only the second playoff round I've ever been through as a head coach. So I get that. It's less him. I think it's more among the players. It's a players' league. They want control. He gave them control. And for whatever reason, the voice, the leadership, whatever it is that Philly is getting is not what Boston's getting. But look, Boston was one of the best teams in the NBA in the regular season. They're not going to go flittering away. Horford has not been Horford except for one game in Game 3 when he went 5 of 7 from distance. I think their best basketball is to come. I think they're going to have a real tough battle tonight against Philly, but it would not surprise me at all if the C's win that game. But I think Doc, and just to finish off on that point about coaching, I think Doc is coaching one of the best series he has ever coached. He's a Hall of Famer as a coach. He's right up there amongst the highest ranking wins of all time playoff coaching wins we've ever seen. Like, he's checking all the boxes. I think he has manipulated without Embiid early on. I think and getting in Harden's head and making Tucker in the role he's in and kind of fluffing up these other guys that have got to get their fingerprints on the game. I think he's done as good a coaching job in this series and maybe going back to the Brooklyn series that we've seen from him. And he is, like I said, a Hall of Fame coach. He's having a great postseason.
I agree with you. I think I wouldn't be surprised if the Celtics pull this out. But before we move on to Nuggets Suns, I want to ask you, James Harden, you mentioned him when talking about Doc Rivers being able to get into his head. One of the critiques of James Harden has been he does not show up when you need him to show up the most. It seems that he's on the verge of breaking that narrative. He's been extremely impactful in this series particularly. What do you think the biggest difference maker is in that situation? How have we now seen him become that consistent, maybe not vintage 50-point James Harden all the time, but a consistent James Harden who contributes to winning?
Yeah, great thought. He is in transition. He's a 33-year-old superstar who's won 3 scoring titles, 2 assist titles, and has always been the man. Now he's playing with the man. And he's coached by a former point guard, and I think that's huge. I think Doc is rubbed really well. He's worn really well on James. And so Harden is still trying to get his footing on this role. Some nights they need him to be the assist guy. Some nights they need him to be the driver. Some night the three-point specialist. And I think it's finding that comfort level that he's going through. But listen, he is a Hall of Famer. He's won 2 games for him. He's got 2 40-plus point games in this series against a pretty good Boston defense. I think he's answering all the things he needs to. Now, they may play him different tonight, and he had to play differently without Embiid. He's had to play differently with Embiid. To me, he has, and we did a couple of those games in that Brooklyn series in the first round. He's been exquisite. Like, he has done exactly what he needs. Now, listen, he's not what he once was, but every once in a while, as the country song goes, he can be what he once was. And we've seen it. So it's kind of what they need him to be. And I think that's the kind of give and take that he's going through right now. I think he's been terrific in these playoffs, and it's good. I know we're talking about some of these other guys, and Devin's been great, and Embiid's been phenomenal, and right on, when AD is on, he's been great. Durant, I mean, Booker, like amazing individual performances. Do not sleep on Harden, because what I've seen at 33 and what he's done and what he's trying to do in about a year with that team has been terrific.
You know, Kevin, there are so many reasons I love this show. One of them is Ashley came on quoting a hip hop song. You come on quoting a country song. We do hip hop, we do country. It's fine. And who's a country artist? Who's an artist? I want to shout him out. You know who came up with that
I don't know.
lyric?
I think it goes, I'm not what I once was, but I can be what I used to be, or something like that. And I've got 3 daughters, and they love country music, so that's where I've heard it before. But that song kind of fits Harden, I think, to a T.
And you know what? A country lyric or a blues lyric kind of fits what's happening to the Phoenix Suns right now. Ashley mentioned him.
Yeah.
Okay, Chris Paul again. Early in the series, goes out with an injury. Now we hear that DeAndre Ayton is not going to be available for Game 6. They could be eliminated. What do you expect from Suns Nuggets with no Paul and no Ayton?
I love Denver. I've loved Denver from the beginning. They're under the radar, even with the 2-time MVP, a star in Jamal. They've kind of checked every box for what they need, and that's the adroit moves that Denver front office has made. Phoenix decided to kind of be the outlier here a little bit. Big names, but the underbelly is not there that makes a great team a great team. Like, they traded these guys that were so important, Bridges, Cam Johnson. These are guys that meant something to that team, and now you've got no Paul and Ayton, for tonight. I mean, I just think that we're kind of running into an issue here of the teams that have shown the best wherewithal have got the Lonnie Walkers. They got the Tyrese Maxeys. They've got these other guys who, when the big guys aren't scoring, they come in and they kind of fill in the gaps. And they don't need to have the ball. They don't need to be an every game player and every touch player. But every once in a while, they're going to give you that performance that you need to win. And we saw it from Walker the other night. There are a lot of guys on Golden State, and clearly last night, these role players play better at home. The role players played well for Philly on the road the other night. That's what it's going to take. Phoenix getting the role players to really kind of fill in what these stars are doing. You can concentrate on 2 guys. If you have nothing else shooting, you're in trouble. And that's kind of what Phoenix said. We're all in with this group. We're top heavy, but as we know, You've got to have ballast, and the ballast is not there with the Suns.
Well, I mean, we talk about being top heavy, and we can't ignore Devin Booker having one hell of a series. Absolutely phenomenal. Safe to say, depending on who you ask, maybe the best player in the postseason right now. But on the other side of that, Kevin Durant, especially in Game 5, he doesn't look like the KD we saw when he faced Milwaukee in that Brooklyn series by himself and he missed the mark by a big toe. He seems a little bit more lethargic, a little bit less sure of himself. His shots aren't falling the same way. His selection's a little bit off. What do you think is the biggest issue for him in this particular series, and why is he having such a difficulty getting started so soon in the game, and it takes him a while to get revved up?
There's a reason why the regular season has got meaning. You build your calluses, you build your endurance, you build your familiarity with your teammates. You've gone through the ups and downs, you've navigated the troughs and the peaks. You've gone through all that stuff. He was out a long time with Brooklyn. He got injured immediately in Phoenix. He came in late in the regular year, but I'm wondering if he's just taking a dip just because he had the big thrust, the adrenaline was going, and now he's trying to collect himself a little bit. And I would never minimize what is doing defensively. We should never minimize, we can always blame it on a player and it's this and that. And I just kind of did. But I would also say never minimize what a team like Denver's doing defensively, how hard they're making it for him to get to the places where he likes to shoot it, how hard they're making it on him and getting the ball, where he likes to catch it and come up, rise and fire. And those are the things that I think sometimes, and I'm guilty as anybody, that we don't pay as much attention to, because it's always a lot of things. It's never one thing. It's always a lot of things. And I think for Durant, I think it's the long absence. It's the new team. It's not building the calluses. It's maybe trying to get your second wind. Like, it's all this stuff plus what Denver is doing defensively. And I think that, like the New York-Miami series, I think those guys in Miami got healthy middle of the season, kind of like Maxey and Harden did with Philadelphia. And since late December, so I hate to go back to that series, but Philadelphia has been the best offensive team in pro basketball when they got Maxey and when they got Harden healthy. And they have shown it. And now they're showing it again in the second series. And I think maybe Durant is suffering from a little bit of that. Miami was injured the first half of the season. They have slowly gotten healthy in the second half and had a chance to kind of build all those different those components I was just talking about. They've had a chance to kind of build up on that stuff. And so you're seeing the performance you're seeing from them now, knocking off Milwaukee, giving the Knicks all they can handle after New York had the terrific Cleveland series. So I think, when we all, and I'm right there, 82 games is too much, but 76 might be right. 72 might be better.
Huh.
The regular season has a purpose, and we're seeing it now.
Here's my last thing for you before we let you go. I'm just wondering if NFL announcers get a little sneak peek about what games they'll be announcing before the schedule comes out. Yeah, listen, I'm not trying to put you in a tough position, but what games are you going to be doing this year that you're excited about? Just for example, I don't know. Anybody ever tell you?
Holly, I love this man. I love reading this man, and I love being on with this man. I know my Monday night schedule because we saw the Thursday game is going to be Detroit, Kansas City, and at Arrowhead. And then my first Monday game will probably be Aaron Rodgers and the Jets against the Bills. So when the Monday schedule goes out, I'll know where I'm going to be all those Mondays. It's Sunday that we don't know. And what has made it interesting this year is that for the first time, it's not necessarily CBS is the AFC network and Fox is the NFC network. Now they're basically putting all the games on Sunday in a hat. All the games that are on Monday, they're not on Thursday, they're not on Sunday night. They're putting them in a hat.
Love it.
They're going to shake them up, then they're going to just throw them out there, and that's how they're going to get the games. We'll do as many NFC games at CBS as Fox announcers will do AFC games. So that's going to be a big difference this year, and so you're really going to have to pay attention where your team is playing on a Sunday afternoon. And they may want to decorate Mondays, and they want to decorate Thursdays and Sunday nights and Fridays on Black Friday. The bread and butter, the NFL, will always be Sunday afternoon. That's where people learn to love the NFL. That is not going to change. There will be quality on that 4 o'clock window, 4:30 window on a Sunday, early window on a Sunday afternoon. You're always going to have great games to watch. But Sunday will always be the bread and butter of the NFL. Yep. Can't either.
So you're getting us hyped up, man. Hey, Kevin, you're getting us hyped up. We hyped about basketball tonight, but now you're getting us hyped up about football, and it's only May. I feel like, I can't wait for that Monday night game. It's in September. You're talking about Arrowhead and the Lions and Chiefs. It's in September. But always good to visit with you, Kevin.
But tonight we'll be watching both, right? We'll be watching the big reveal on our respective networks, and we'll be watching NBA playoff basketball. So it's a great time of year.
All right, good to see you, my friend.
Folks.
Great to be on with you all. Thank you so much. Always fun.
Yeah, come back anytime. I'm going to get my country songs ready. I'm going to bone up on my country music. Hey, thank you for watching Brother from Another. If you haven't hit that subscribe button, go ahead and do that now. Don't forget, you can catch us 3 to 4 weekdays on PeacockTV.com and on Sirius XM Channel 85.